welcome to the JTM Community Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Melvin. If you are watching this, you do know who this is, or you could know because she has been on the podcast, I believe, once before. If you are unsure or you are listening to this, we'll get to that in just a second. Of course, if you want to touch base with me, you can find all of our info at j-tm.community. If you would like to have a conversation of advancement advising or find local to the Mount Pleasant, Michigan area resources, there's also some national resources in that as well. Without further ado, my niece, Josilyne, is here with us, right? And as we had chatted, I'll have you introduce yourself. Of course, if anyone's tuning in and you want the podcast specific stuff, just same website, j-tm.community, just add /podcast to that, and it'll take you exactly where you want to go. The easiest thing you can do to be a part of the community every Monday is a voting poll that goes live each Monday morning, as well as a new episode. So you all, based on your feedback and stories and info that you share with us, that gets turned into a topic, and then you all choose every Monday what that topic will be for a future episode. Go ahead, Josilyne.
Well, I'm Josilyne. I am 20. I'll be 21 in September. I am engaged, so we're looking at getting married soon. And we're doing things a little backwards, but I am going to be a mom soon. I'm doing August, so got some exciting things to look forward to. But yeah,
she's from the
Port Huron.
Yeah, Port Huron area. And what do you do for work?
I am a caregiver.
There we go.
I take care of just about anybody that's like ranges from 55 and older. So.
Okay. So the structure of, and you and I have already chatted, the structure of what we're doing today is we're going to cover essentially 4 different topics, 4 episodes. Each one will be roughly about 20 minutes. So the first topic that we will chat about is the idea of hobbies and activities that you feel greatly benefit you. And then the second will be the idea of life, but specifically the cleaning and decluttering portion of that. And then third will be managing anger and frustration. And then fourth, but not least, just last, will be finding yourself. Right. As you know, you will see a timer pop up. So there'll be a 20-minute timer going, which makes it easier for folks to pick up and stop randomly as they need to. Are you ready for topic number 1, which is hobbies and activities that greatly benefit you?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So diving in, you can see the timer, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep, I can see it.
Okay. So first, when you think of hobbies or activities that are beneficial, what does that even mean to you? What does that make you think of?
To me, it's more so of like, let's say you're having like a really rough time or you're like really stressful that day or work just got you like livid.
Sure.
Back then before I got pregnant, it used to be like active stuff. Going for a walk, which I could probably still do, but I'm out of breath very easily. Playing volleyball, just stuff to get me out, like to take my mind off of it. I feel like it's very important for people to have these hobbies to kind of get away from life for a little bit.
Okay, so things that kind of create distance, but also let you like burn a little bit of that off.
Yeah, something that you enjoy that can, I don't.
Okay, no, that makes sense. So knowing that you are going to be pregnant for the next hot minute, you got about 3.5 months left from what we just chatted about.
Literally hot.
What are or could be the things that have that same kind of benefit? Because understandably, there's some limitations that you have right now.
Eating is one of them. Honestly, I really don't know. I could not tell you. Although working, this sounds a little bit like, because people is like, when you think about it, people don't like to work. They don't like work. That's not like something fun, you know?
It can be. Depends on your job.
Yeah, I kind of enjoy it.
Okay.
It's a way of, I'm not at home. Like, this is work. This is separate from my life. So, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. So work, it can almost be kind of like compartmentalized to be a bit of a distraction and a place of joy as well.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, sleeping and eating.
It sounds about right. So I want to, you said something that is actually surprising to me, and I didn't anticipate you referencing, which was the idea of work. Because a lot of people would say, and you touched on this as well, is that the hobbies activities to be beneficial are aside from work or to help deal with work, versus you are seeing that a little bit different. So what is it about work that has that beneficial element for you?
I think it's going to work and knowing, like, I get to take care of them. I get to give them, like, their last little bit of time. Like, I get to love them properly and take care of them. And to me, that's very rewarding. So, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, I guess. If you're in this field, you understand.
Sure. Like, it really sounds like being in service of other people to, like, help them gives you a sense of fulfillment.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not surprising at all, given watching you be a part of your little brother's life. Even when you were relatively young, I mean, you're still young at this point. So, but even when you were in your teens, like young teens, and like how you would approach your little brother was very, very similar, right? And I know you would agree, is almost the dynamic of almost like a second mother to him.
I would say Mama Bear. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. He just, my little brother.
So knowing that is kind of your characteristics, it's not surprising at all that you would also get that fulfillment from caring for others as well. Where do you think that comes from?
I don't know. I feel like everybody has said this, and I do see it probably like from Grandma, seeing her like doing things for other people. And honestly,
what grandma are we talking about?
Connie, your guys' mom.
Okay.
I honestly, I don't think I've ever heard her complain about it. Like, it wasn't nothing for her to say, okay, I got you, like, I'm going to take care of you, I can help you. Like, if she could, she would.
Sure.
I don't know.
I'm not saying, I'm not disagreeing with you at all, right? As much as also acknowledging there are blatantly two sides to that coin, right?
Yeah.
You having the blessing of being the grandbaby.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm sure there's probably different roles. Yeah. Yes.
So, and I'm not going to say anything because I also don't want to have a negative impact on the memory you have of your grandma. But I also know that you were exposed to things a little bit. I'm very grateful that is the way it feels for you. That's awesome.
I mean, I know she wasn't a perfect lady, but
well, none of us are perfect either, for sure.
But yeah.
What has that looked like? So knowing that when it comes to hobby and activities that you feel beneficial for you, really the biggest one that you're highlighting is a sense of fulfillment from like caring for others. It seems like that is a direct correlation to what you described a little bit ago, which is being due in August.
Yeah, I don't know.
How's all that sitting with you?
Oh, I'm very excited. I mean, I'm nervous. I don't want to think about this getting this baby out, but
Sure. Is that the nervous part? Not necessarily having the child, but giving birth to the child?
yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Yeah, I could not.
And if we're both being honest, you are a little bit of a wimp.
Yeah, kind of.
Like pain wise.
Me and Russell were just talking about that. We're getting a little off topic, but anytime I'm in pain, like I bang my toe or anything, he's like, "Are you okay, Russell? Shut up! Don't talk to me." He said, "I'm just asking you if you're okay."
Trying to take care of you.
I'm sure I'll probably be a little bitch.
You'll be all right, though. You'll definitely be all right.
Yeah, drug me up and I will be. No, it'll all be worth it, so I can't wait. I'm very excited.
It will be. I don't know how much is and isn't okay to talk about as far as like what you're having. Obviously, a little human, but
yeah, it's not an alien. No, it's a boy. We're having a boy. Yep.
And what's the little one's name? Or did it change?
No, it did not change. I feel like I'm gonna share it, but I just feel once you like announce the baby's name, I feel like everybody wants to take it, and that name just starts popping up like crazy. But we are going to name him Huxley Russell, and obviously his last name is going to be Crawford. But Huxley, it's funny because I actually saw it on TikTok, and I was obsessed with it. And then Russell, it's actually Russell's name, my fiance's name, and then it's his dad's middle name.
I didn't know that.
And it's his grandpa's middle name, but he's passed on. So I think like 4 generations keep it going. I think I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tradition.
I'm a sentimental person, so but
that's very cool. Very, very cool. Is there a story behind the first name aside from you heard it and you liked it off of TikTok?
Nope, that's
100% where it's at. Is
yep, and
nice.
It was different.
See,
I want something different.
TikTok can be good for some things.
Yeah,
that's super cool.
Yeah.
So when you think of yourself, again, going back to hobbies and activities, which you said initially first was the idea of doing active things, right? That kind of like help propel you forward, whether it's something like walking, just kind of like burning some of which probably will tie into another episode we'll talk about in a little bit, to managing frustrations and anger and things of that sort. Can you think of a time where you were struggling a bit, not doing the hobbies, not doing the activities to be beneficial, what that looked like compared to what it does look like when you are doing those things?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I talked about it in the other episodes that I was in.
Okay.
It kind of has to do with the miscarriage, like losing our baby stuff.
Do you want to give folks that might be listening right now, not a bunch of detail, but just a general idea of when we're talking about?
So this took place I found out I was pregnant in May, and then I found out I had miscarried in July, and July is when I had to have a DNC, and
so it'd be roughly a year ago.
Yeah, yep. I just remember I distanced myself from a lot of people. And like pushed myself away. Not like intentionally, it's not something that I wanted. I needed my time, and with Russell's brother and sister-in-law, they were pregnant around the same time, like very close. We were like a day or two apart. So I didn't want to deal with anybody, and that was a time where I really didn't do nothing, and it it definitely took effect of my mental health for sure.
Sure,
And
sure.
yeah, but now very different. I'm very thankful. No, I don't wish that on anybody. I hope nobody ever has to go through that. Sadly, people do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely think having hobbies and activities help tremendously. Even if that's like sitting outside on your porch watching the birds or something, there's something to get you out and doing something.
It sounds like just something that helps you keep moving forward, even if it's not at a sprinting pace, but just some kind of movement forward.
Yeah, I don't want to say finding a purpose, but kind of finding a purpose.
Yeah. No, I think that that's very, very fitting. To go back kind of to that moment in time superficially. Again, I'm not trying to like bring you back into a terrible situation. As much as what I think what you highlighted was the flip side to the coin we're talking about, because we're talking about the benefits of like what hobbies and activities, and you highlighted something I think that was really cool and mindful, which was the things that you began doing that were actually opposite of helpful. It was hurtful when you started to isolate and remove yourself. Again, not doing it intentionally so, right? But just in the headspace and the impact of everything, and where you were mentally from all of that. Inherently, you started to do those things, which sounds like it actually made it worse. It kind of like held you in that level of, I'm going to say a word that you didn't use. So if I'm wrong, then just let me know. But it almost like held you in a level of grief rather than allowing you to be able to like move on and like process through that.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'd say that's fair.
Yeah. What do you feel like? Because I want to be very specific. That way, folks can have a little bit of a takeaway as well. And I'm going to key in on something that you said when we actually talked about this in those previous episodes. Was you had mentioned that it's difficult because the very idea of what we're talking about, people don't talk about it. So you had a feeling of like being alone, and that the like going through that and a miscarriage happening, that it was like a taboo topic. So the way you described it previously was it was almost like an additional punishment for something that was already remarkably terrible.
Yeah, I kind of felt like, in a way, not that I had to be hush hush about it, but it was kind of like people don't talk about it, so why should I? And when I did talk about it, it felt nice. I mean, yeah, it's like who wants to remember that day, but it's like this was my child at the end of the day, like it was my baby, but I just wish a lot more people were to talk about it, because when I talked about it, it made me feel as if I was grieving for a long time, or like I was like being dramatic, and yeah, so I don't know. It's just I just wish more people talked about it. I think that definitely has helped, because I feel like the more I talked about it, the more other people would talk about it, and it's like, oh hey, like you've been through this.
Yeah, and I can only imagine, and from what you had talked about then and now, is that it felt like you had a greater connection, and that people could understand and be there with you and support, rather than prior, when you felt that you were like holding this terrible secret and you had to shoulder the burden all by yourself.
Yeah. And I feel like that's where I kind of felt alone in some ways. So I would rather just be alone and not talk to anybody. And I think that's kind of why I pushed people away and isolated myself a little bit.
Is it okay if I pivot a little bit from what we're talking about? Because we only have a couple minutes left on the timer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you talked about three things now, which was the idea of some kind of like physical expenditure or activity, right, to be helpful. You talked about finding kind of purpose, and you paired that a little bit with acts of service for folks, being in service of others, right? Whether that's as a big sister or a caretaker or a soon-to-be mother, right? And not that those are the only options. There's plenty of ways to be of service to others without it being those three, for sure.
Oh yeah.
And then lastly, I think you touched on a really big one, which was just the idea of being kind of open and honest and being able to talk with people, and not necessarily to everyone you come across. I mean, it's always awkward when you're trying to check out at the grocery store and next thing you know, you become the therapist or they become yours, right? So kind of there's certain people in certain places and certain times where, you know, having certain kinds of conversations are appropriate. But the willingness to lean into that or to engage or find the people that we need rather than kind of isolating ourselves or removing ourselves.
Yeah.
Can I pick on Russell for a second?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So originally, this was going to be with both Josilyne and Russell, right? But he is a little more on the high idling side of things, a little on the anxious, definitely outside his comfort zone. So if he was here and I asked him that same question of a beneficial hobby or activity, what would he say?
Oh. He's a hard one. I mean, I've been with him for freaking 6 years. You think by now I would know a little bit. Honestly, I feel like video games and working out, like a punching bag.
Okay.
Those are like his hobbies or activities that are beneficial to him, because I will say there was one day where he wasn't mad at me, he was mad at other things going on, and you could just tell it was affecting him mentally. And he put the punching bag up, went outside, you know, was hitting it, and
burned it off.
But like that his mindset has changed.
Yep.
So I'd probably say those two.
But no, that makes sense. Yeah, it sounds like he was frustrated or angry at a situation and was able to channel it in a way to kind of burn some of that, for sure.
Yeah. And I feel like that's probably a big one for you too, is probably working out.
Yeah. I am a very different person if I'm not. I have to implement, this is going to sound very unhealthy, which I understand at surface level why somebody would think that, but it's actually remarkably healthy for me, is that I have to implement struggle in my own life by choice, so I don't just cause drama. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm able to artificially do that by pushing myself mentally in workouts or with certain music. So peace is a beautiful thing, but it gets dangerously close to comfort and complacency, and I become a lesser version of myself if I don't have some level of struggle going on. So I do that through essentially working out, for sure.
Yeah. You're like the last person that has any drama. I feel like even when you come like to visit us and stuff, and me and a mom are not really arguing or anything, just kind of bickering, you're like, cut it out.
Sure. Well, and I'm not trying to throw any one person under the buses. I will attribute this to all people, is that drama is unnecessary, always, and will be unnecessary, because life will create its own chaos, right? We don't need to help it. So I'm going to pick on you for something you didn't say on camera, but you said just before we started, because I'm sure it's going to pop up at some point. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, that's fine.
And then we'll move on to topic number 2. So you had mentioned being you and mom struggling a little bit, right? Things kind of went down. I'm not going to say any detail unless we get into it later. And then you said she reached out to you the next day, I think you said, right? And what did you do?
I ignored her. I didn't want to talk to her.
Right. So that's an example of when we create our own drama.
Yeah.
Because I understand the way you felt, and again, not trying to get into a bunch of stuff, but you could have also simply text back, "Hey, I appreciate you like trying to touch base. Like I'm not in the greatest mood for us to be talking right now, so let me get back to you later."
Yeah. I was going to text her just then. I didn't want to say anything that I would have regretted, so that's why I was waiting. But no, I agree.
Right.
Whether she liked what I said or not, I feel like I could have said, I'll talk to you later.
Yep, which is very different than ignoring, because you also know what it feels like to be ignored.
Yeah.
Right. So if we're being complete, yeah, yes, it does. It's when we feel hurt, people tend to go a little more tit for tat. Right, which is an actions and activities that are opposite to being beneficial. Right, and we're all guilty of it from time to time. Like I don't think anyone gets through this thing we call life without being a bit of a stinker, at least on occasion.
Yeah. And if you haven't, let me know.
You're right. I set myself up with a beautiful segue of life, because that is our next topic. Again, Joss, I want to say thank you for giving me your time this hopefully wonderful, I don't see any sun, but still wonderful Friday at this point. Of course, if you're tuning in and listening to this series, the first topic is that of hobbies and activities that you feel are beneficial to your life. The second topic was the idea of life, and specifically in the boundaries of cleaning and decluttering life, followed by managing frustration and anger. And then fourth and last was finding yourself. Before we head off, Joss, is there any nugget that you would want folks to take away from our conversations today?
Make time for you. And it doesn't always mean that you're selfish. Because I feel like a lot of people struggle with that.
Yep. I love that. Kind of the idea of taking time for yourself doesn't mean you're selfish.
Yeah.
As I said that, I literally saw a shellfish in my head. I know we're getting off topic. Again, Joss, thank you for joining me. Of course, anyone that is tuning in, if you want to touch base with me for advancement advising, you can do so at j-tm.community. If you want podcast-specific stuff, just add a /podcast to that. It'll take you exactly where you want to be. If you want to be a part of the community, which we always have daily posts throughout the week, with a new episode goes live on Monday, a new poll goes live. You all dictate what the topics are, and essentially select and vote for them. If you need a little bit of motivation, inspiration, human connection, and a little bit of humor from time to time, of course, join the community. The easiest thing that you can do is join the Facebook community, because everything gets posted there as we move forward. I know we'll talk beforehand, but I want to say congratulations on little, I'm going to pull one from Bubba, on little Pugsley.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Joss, again for being part of this, and thank you for anyone who has tuned in and for being part of a community where you belong.